All right, let's get right into this one. Picture this: Woodland Hills, California, January 23rd, 2017. You've got two hooded figures sprinting away from a beautiful upscale home. Inside, a world-renowned hairstylist, Fabio Cementelli, has been brutally murdered on his own patio. And get this, just moments away, his own teenage daughter is pulling into the driveway about to walk into an absolute nightmare. And that right there is the chilling heart of this entire story. This wasn't some random burglary gone wrong. No, this was something far more personal, far more twisted. So let's break down exactly how this picture-perfect life was completely shattered from the inside out. So, at first glance, the scene screamed home invasion. Fabio's black Porsche was gone, and neighbors saw those two figures fleeing. But for the investigators who arrived on the scene, something felt off. The pieces just weren't fitting together, and the story the crime scene was telling them was very, very different. And the timing of this is just insane. I mean, look at how precise this was. The killers make their getaway at 4:53 p.m. Literally 60 seconds later, 1 minute, his daughter arrives home. That's not a coincidence. That isn't luck. That tells you somebody knew the family schedule down to the minute. And this is exactly why that whole burglary theory started to fall apart almost immediately. I mean, think about it. Robbers are gonna take an expensive Rolex, they're definitely gonna take a wallet, but here, nothing of value was touched. There was no forced entry, which means the killers probably just walked right in, and no defensive wounds. That suggests Fabio had no idea what was coming. So, with the robbery theory pretty much out the window, suspicion had to shift. And naturally, all eyes began to turn to the person closest to Fabio, his wife of more than 20 years, Monica Cementelli, whose public display of grief was, well, almost too much to believe. This is what Monica kept saying over and over and over to her friends in the hours after the murder. To everyone, she seemed absolutely devastated, totally lost in a fog of shock. But the question detectives had to ask was this genuine sorrow, or was it a performance? And then the case gets its first huge break. And it comes from this guy, Robert Louis Baker. He shows up at Fabio's memorial, a service held in the very same backyard where Fabio was killed. A friend of Monica's just got a weird vibe from him, thought he seemed totally out of place, so she quietly snapped his picture. And you see that bandaged finger? That's gonna be critical. That one photo, taken just on a hunch, was about to blow this entire conspiracy wide open. And boom, there it is. The police found a few drops of blood inside Fabio's stolen Porsche after they recovered it. They ran the DNA and it came back as a perfect match to Robert Baker, whose DNA was already in the system. The connection was now undeniable. Police had their man. Now they just had to figure out, why was he there? And this is where the deception just becomes breathtaking. You have this tale of two Monicas. Publicly, she's the heartbroken widow. But privately, she was taking secret romantic trips to Vegas with her husband's killer. And incredibly, she was already introducing herself to his friends as Monica Baker. The very night of the murder, she wasn't asking for updates on the investigation. She was asking detectives about the life insurance payout. So, how does a secret affair escalate into a cold-blooded murder plot? Well, as investigators kept digging, they uncovered something way beyond just an affair. They found a meticulous, calculated operation, and it was all driven by pure, simple greed. And there's your motive, in black and white. $1.6 million. That's what Fabio's life insurance policy was worth. And if he died, Monica was the sole beneficiary. No messy divorce, no splitting up assets, just a grieving widow, a new lover, and a fortune paid for in blood. The plan itself was laid out with just chilling precision. First, Baker gets an accomplice. Then, Monica, his own wife, gives the killers a tour of her home, even pointing out the patio where her husband liked to sit and relax. They used all kinds of tech to track his every move. Monica creates a rock-solid alibi for herself, and then she leaves the side door unlocked for them. It was a trap, set by the person he trusted most in the world. And they did not leave anything to chance. They used burner phones to hide their affair and their plotting. Monica actually upgraded the home security system so she could watch the cameras from her phone, making sure she knew exactly when Fabio would be alone. And they even put GPS trackers on both of his cars. They weren't just plotting a murder, they were literally hunting him. So eventually, all these lies just came crashing down. Monica and Baker were arrested and charged with murder. And once they got to the courtroom, the full, ugly story came spilling out. But not without a few shocking twists, as the conspirators started turning on each other. And this created an absolutely fascinating showdown in court. On one side, you have the accomplice, Christopher Austin. He lays out the whole plot and he points the finger directly at Monica, calling her the mastermind. But then, in a move nobody saw coming, her lover, Robert Baker, gets on the stand and tries to take the entire fall. He claims he did it all alone, out of a twisted obsession with her. It was his word against a mountain of evidence from the prosecution. And really, this became the central question for the jury. Who was the real Monica Cementali? Was she just a foolish woman who got caught up in an affair and was manipulated by a predator? Or was she the one pulling all the strings the entire time, orchestrating every single detail to get her hands on that money?
So after weeks of testimony and these two completely conflicting stories, the jury had to decide. The fate of Monica Cementali, grieving widow or cold-blooded killer, was now completely in their hands.
And the verdict was swift, and it was decisive. Guilty. Guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The jury saw right through the performance. They connected the dots from the secret affair to the surveillance to that unlocked door. They believed she was the mastermind. And if there was any lingering doubt, the judge's words at her sentencing hearing erased it completely. The court officially found that Monica wasn't just a pawn in someone else's game. She was the one who orchestrated the entire horrific thing. And here are the final consequences for that betrayal. Life in prison, without any possibility of parole, for both Monica Cementali and her lover, Robert Baker. The accomplice, Christopher Austin, got a lesser sentence, 16 years to life, because he cooperated with the prosecution.
And in the end, it all comes back to that Rolex, the one thing of value left on Fabio's wrist. It was the very first clue that this story wasn't what it seemed, and it really became the ultimate symbol of the whole crime. The goal was never to steal his things. The goal was to steal his life.
And that really is the haunting takeaway here, isn't it? That sometimes the greatest danger comes from the very people who are closest to us, the person who stands up and promises to love you till death do you part. In this case, that vow became a deadly, literal promise.